the refusal, the arrival. The sky above New Delhi turned silver on a Wednesday afternoon. Citizens stopped in the streets, pointing upward as the massive vessel descended through the clouds. It was unlike anything humanity had ever built. The ship stretched 3 kilometers from end to end, its surface smooth as polished glass, reflecting the sunlight in patterns that hurt to look at directly. There was no sound, no engine roar, no atmospheric disturbance. It simply appeared, as if the universe had decided to place it there. Within hours, every major city on Earth received the same transmission. The message was delivered in flawless English, Mandarin, Spanish, Arabic, and 200 other languages simultaneously. The voice that spoke was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It simply was, "People of Earth, we are the Sovereign Assembly, representatives of 400 civilized worlds spanning this galaxy. We have observed your species for 3 of your generations. You have reached the threshold of interstellar capability. The time has come for formal contact. We invite your leaders to meet with us. We have much to discuss regarding your future." Commander Rachel Torres stood in the briefing room deep beneath the United Nations complex, watching the replay for the 7th time. She was 41 years old, a former astronaut turned diplomat, selected for this role because she understood both the vastness of space and the complexity of human nature. Her dark hair was pulled back tight, and her uniform was crisp despite the 14-hour days she had worked since the transmission arrived. "They said your future, not our future together," noted Senator James Chun, sitting across the table. He was 73, a veteran politician who had negotiated peace treaties on 4 continents. His instincts were sharp. "That phrasing concerns me." Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, the chief xenobiologist, leaned forward. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment, studying every theoretical model of alien contact. "We need to assume they view themselves as superior. Any species capable of crossing interstellar distances has technology centuries or millennia beyond ours. The question is whether they see us as equals, children, or something else entirely." Admiral Marcus Webb, commander of Earth's Unified Space Forces, grunted. "Something else is my guess. You don't send a ship that size and make an announcement that formal unless you're planning to dictate terms." He was a broad-shouldered man of 60, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many conflicts. "We need to prepare for every possibility." Rachel nodded. "Agreed. But we also need to remember that this is humanity's first contact with an interstellar civilization. How we handle this will define our species for generations. We cannot afford to be hostile, but we also cannot afford to be weak." The meeting was scheduled for 3 days later. The Sovereign Assembly wanted it held aboard their vessel. Rachel argued for neutral ground. They compromised on a location in orbit, using a hastily constructed meeting station that both sides could access. It was a small victory, but Rachel believed small victories mattered. The meeting, the delegation that emerged from the Sovereign Assembly's shuttle, was breathtaking in its diversity. 6 beings, each from a different species, each more alien than anything humanity had imagined. The leader was a creature that called itself Talvor. It stood nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms and a body covered in what looked like living crystal formations. Its face, if it could be called that, had no eyes that Rachel could see, yet she felt certain it was looking directly at her. "Commander Torres." Talvor's voice came through a translation device that floated beside it. "We greet you on behalf of the Sovereign Assembly. You represent your world." "I represent the United Government of Earth," Rachel replied carefully. "I speak with the authority of 8 billion human beings." 8 billion, Talvor repeated. The crystals on its body shifted colors slightly. "A significant population for a single world. This is good. It means your species is productive." The 6 delegates took their seats around the circular table. Rachel sat opposite Talvor, with Senator Chin on her right, and Dr. Okonkwo on her left. Admiral Webb stood behind them, along with military representatives from 12 nations. The room was filled with recording equipment. Every word, every gesture would be analyzed by experts across the planet. "We have prepared documentation," Talvor said. One of the other delegates, a serpentine creature with scales that shimmered like oil on water, placed a data device on the table. This contains the integration protocol. It outlines the terms by which Earth will join the Sovereign Assembly and take its place in the greater galactic community. Rachel picked up the device. We appreciate your preparation. However, I should clarify that we are here to discuss potential terms, not to accept predetermined conditions. The crystals on Talvor's body flickered. Perhaps there is a translation error. The integration protocol is not negotiable. All species that join the assembly accept these terms. There are no exceptions. This has been our practice for 11,000 years. Senator Urchin leaned forward. 11,000 years is impressive, but humanity has its own history, its own values. Surely there is room for discussion. The protocol exists because it works, Talvor responded. It has brought peace and prosperity to 400 worlds. Your species will benefit greatly from membership. Rachel opened the data device and began reading. Her expression remained neutral, but inside her heart sank. The document was 217 pages long. Every page took something away. Earth would be permitted to colonize exactly 6 star systems. No more. Ever. Humanity would pay 40% of all resources extracted from those systems to the Assembly as tribute. Human military forces would be limited to defensive capabilities only. No weapons above a specified power threshold would be permitted. Assembly inspectors would have unlimited access to all human facilities, civilian and military. Humans would not be allowed to form independent alliances with other species. All trade would be managed through assembly channels. Human exploration beyond the designated 6 systems would be forbidden. Violation of any term would result in immediate sanctions, including blockade and forced compliance. Rachel read through the entire document in silence. The room waited. When she finally looked up, her face was calm, but her eyes were hard. "This is not membership," she said quietly. "This is subjugation." Talvor's crystals remained steady. "You misunderstand. The protocol ensures order. Without it, there would be chaos. Your species is young, impulsive, prone to conflict. The assembly provides structure and guidance. In time, you will see the wisdom of these arrangements." How many species have rejected this protocol? Admiral Webb asked from behind Rachel. There was a long pause. "None," Talvor finally answered. "None in 11,000 years. Webb pressed. "Not a single species said no?" "Correct." "And what happened to species that were offered these terms and refused them?" Another pause. "There are no records of refusal." Rachel felt the temperature in the room drop. She understood perfectly what that meant. Species that refused did not become part of the historical record because they were erased. Dr. Okonkwo spoke up, her voice careful. "Surely some species have negotiated modifications? Different circumstances must require different approaches." "The protocol is universal," Talvor said. "It applies equally to all. This is what makes it fair." Senator Urchin cleared his throat. "I would like to request a recess. We need time to consult with our governments." "Of course," Talvor agreed. "You have 48 hours to review the protocol and prepare for the signing ceremony." "We have not agreed to sign anything," Rachel said firmly. The crystals on Talvor's body suddenly flared bright red. "Commander Torres, perhaps you do not fully comprehend your situation. The Sovereign Assembly maintains peace across this galaxy. We have fleets that number in the thousands. We have weapons that can reshape planets. We have existed since before your species learned to make fire. When we offer membership, it is not truly a choice. It is an inevitability." Rachel stood slowly. She was much smaller than Talvor, barely reaching the middle of its crystalline torso. But she met its eyeless gaze without flinching. "Sovereign Talvor, let me tell you something about humanity. We are indeed young. We are impulsive. We have fought countless wars among ourselves. But we have also done something that perhaps you have forgotten how to do. We have learned that freedom is worth dying for. We have learned that chains, no matter how comfortable, are still chains. And we have learned that the only true peace is the peace we choose for ourselves." She picked up the data device containing the protocol and held it up. "This document does not offer us membership. It offers us a cage. And humanity does not do well in cages." Talvor's body began to pulse with different colors. The other 5 delegates shifted in their seats. You would refuse the assembly? Talvor's voice had changed, becoming harder. You understand what that means? I understand that you will attempt to force us, Rachel replied. I understand that you believe your superior technology makes you invincible. I understand that for 11,000 years, every species you have encountered has either submitted or been destroyed. She placed the device back on the table. But you do not understand us yet. You do not understand what humans are capable of when we fight for something we believe in. Senator Chin stood beside her. Earth's answer is no. We will not sign your protocol. We will not accept your terms. These negotiations are concluded. The room erupted in shocked murmurs from both sides. Admiral Webb moved forward, placing himself protectively near the civilian delegates. The assembly representatives rose as one, their body language unmistakably hostile despite their alien forms. Talfor's voice was cold. You are making a catastrophic mistake. Perhaps, Rachel acknowledged, but it will be our mistake to make. That is what freedom means. She turned and walked toward the exit. Senator Chun and Dr. Okonkwo followed. Admiral Webb remained a moment longer, meeting the eyeless gaze of each alien delegate, letting them see that he was not afraid. As the human delegation's shuttle undocked from the meeting station, Rachel looked back at the massive assembly vessel. It hung in space like a sword of silver, beautiful and terrible. They will come for us, Dr. Okonkwo said softly. Yes, Rachel agreed. They will come with everything they have. They will try to break us, to make an example of us. Can we win? Senator Chin asked. Rachel thought about human history. She thought about slaves who fought for freedom, about colonies that defied empires, about ordinary people who accomplished extraordinary things when their backs were against the wall. She thought about 8 billion humans, creative and stubborn, and absolutely refusing to give up. I don't know if we can win, she said honestly, but I know we will fight. And I know that the Sovereign Assembly has never faced an enemy quite like us. The shuttle descended toward Earth. Behind them, the silver ship remained in orbit, watching. Within hours, Talvor's report would reach the Assembly's homeworld. Within days, decisions would be made. Within weeks, the largest military fleet ever assembled would begin its journey to the small blue planet that had done the impossible. Humanity had ended the talks. Now they would face the consequences. But they would face them as free beings, not as subjects. And that made all the difference. On Earth, the work began immediately. Factories that had built consumer goods were converted to military production. Scientists who had spent careers in peaceful research turned their minds to weapons and defense. 8 billion humans united behind a single purpose: survival. They did not know if they could win, but they knew they would never surrender. The Assembly believed they understood warfare. They believed their experience, their technology, their numbers made victory certain. They had crushed rebellions before. This would be no different. They were wrong. The Assembly's response. The Grand Chamber on the Assembly homeworld of Axis Prime had not seen such activity in centuries. Talvor stood before the Council of Sovereigns, the ruling body of 400 worlds, and delivered his report. Around him, holographic projections showed the meeting with humanity, focusing on the moment Rachel Torres rejected the protocol. Impossible, muttered Sovereign Kresh, a towering being whose species had joined the Assembly 6,000 years ago. No species refuses. The protocol is absolute. Yet they have refused, Talvor confirmed. His crystalline body still flickered with the shame of failure. The humans are either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. They are primitives, declared Sovereign Vinax, whose species control the Assembly's military forces. She was a being of pure energy contained within a geometric field, her voice like crackling lightning. They have barely left their own solar system. They possess no weapons that could threaten even our oldest vessels. This defiance is meaningless. Supreme Sovereign Orathon, the eldest and most powerful member of the Council, raised one of his 7 hands for silence. He was ancient beyond measure, his scaled skin covered in scars from conflicts that predated most civilized worlds. His species had founded the Assembly 11,000 years ago, and he had led it for half that time. Underestimation has destroyed more empires than any weapon, Orathon said slowly. Tell me, Talvor, what did you observe about these humans beyond their refusal? Talvor's crystals shifted through colors as he recalled. They showed no fear, Supreme Sovereign. Even when I made clear the consequences of refusal, their leader did not waver. There was something in her eyes, a determination I have not seen before. Determination means nothing against plasma cannons, Vinak scoffed. I propose we send an enforcement collective. 500 warships should be sufficient. We will demonstrate what happens to species that forget their place. Orathon nodded slowly. Very well, but I want full deployment. 1,000 ships, not 500. We will make certain there is no possibility of failure. When we are finished, every species in the galaxy will remember why they signed the protocol. The order went out within the hour. Across assembly space, warships began gathering. The Enforcement Collective was the largest military force ever assembled by the Assembly, reserved only for the most serious threats. In 11,000 years, it had been deployed 17 times. Each deployment had ended the same way. Total victory, complete submission, and a clear message to the galaxy. Earth prepares. 6 months passed between humanity's refusal and the Assembly's arrival. 6 months that would determine whether humanity survived or perished. Rachel Torres stood in the war room, now located in a facility carved deep into the Colorado mountains. Around her, holographic displays showed the frantic activity happening across the entire planet. Every nation had contributed resources. Political differences had been set aside. Humanity moved as one for the first time in its history. Status report, she commanded. Admiral Webb stepped forward, his face lined with exhaustion. We have completed construction of 240 defense platforms in orbital positions around Earth, and our colonies on Mars and the Moon. Each platform is equipped with railguns, missiles, and electromagnetic pulse weapons. We have also positioned 300,000 autonomous defense drones throughout the solar system. Our ships? Rachel asked. We have 117 combat vessels operational. They are smaller than assembly ships, but faster and more maneuverable. Each one is equipped with experimental weapons that our scientists have been developing. Dr. Okonkwo pulled up a new display. We have focused on asymmetric warfare tactics. The Assembly has superior firepower, but their tactics are predictable. They have won every engagement for 11,000 years using the same basic strategies. They have no reason to innovate. And we do, Senator Chen added. He had aged visibly in 6 months, but his eyes remained sharp. Dr. Okonkwo's team has developed something called adaptive munitions. The missiles learn from each engagement and adjust their approach in real time. Rachel studied the displays. The odds were still overwhelming. 1,000 assembly warships against humanity's small fleet. But she remembered something her grandfather had told her, a man who had fought in 3 wars. You don't win by being stronger. You win by being smarter and refusing to quit. What about civilian evacuation? She asked. Underground shelters can hold 2 billion people, Webb reported. It is not enough, but it is all we could build in time. We have prioritized children and medical personnel. Rachel closed her eyes briefly. 6 billion people would remain on the surface. 6 billion lives depending on decisions she had helped make. The weight of it was crushing. They are coming to make an example of us, she said quietly. They want to show the galaxy what happens to species that defy them. So we need to make our own example. We need to show every oppressed species in the galaxy that the Assembly can be beaten, even if we lose. Chen asked, especially if we lose, Rachel replied. Because even in losing, we can prove they are not invincible. We can inspire others to resist. The battle begins. The Assembly fleet arrived exactly when predicted. 1,000 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Each ship was massive, built to intimidate as much as to fight. They formed into precise formations that had been used successfully for thousands of years. Commander Zephyr led the Enforcement Collective from her flagship, the Unbreakable Will. She was a member of Inaxa's species, a being that contained energy who had commanded Assembly forces for 3 centuries. She had never known defeat. All ships, standard assault formation, she commanded. Advance on the third planet. Destroy all military assets. Prepare for orbital bombardment of major population centers. The fleet moved forward like a wall of death, their weapons powered up, enough firepower to glass an entire planet. The humans had built defenses, but Zephyr-A's sensors showed them to be primitive. This would be over quickly. Then the humans did something unexpected. Instead of forming a defensive line, the human ships scattered in all directions at speeds that shocked Zephyr-A's tactical officers. They moved like insects, darting and weaving in patterns that made targeting difficult. All ships, pursue and destroy, Zephyr-A ordered. Do not let them escape. The assembly fleet broke formation to chase the fleeing humans. It was exactly what Rachel Torres had planned. As the assembly ships spread out, they entered the killing field. The 300,000 autonomous drones activated simultaneously. They were small, barely larger than human fighter craft, but each one carried adaptive munitions. The first wave of missiles struck assembly shields and was deflected, but the drones recorded everything. Shield frequencies, power distribution patterns, response times. The second wave adjusted. The third wave found weaknesses. By the fourth wave, assembly ships began taking damage. Impossible. Zephyr-A watched in disbelief as one of her destroyers exploded. Their weapons should not be able to penetrate our shields. The missiles are learning, her tactical officer reported, his voice rising in panic. Each wave is more effective than the last. They are adapting faster than we can compensate. The human ships stopped fleeing and turned to attack. They did not engage in traditional ship-to-ship combat. Instead, they used hit-and-run tactics, striking from unexpected angles and disappearing before a turn fire could lock on. They targeted propulsion systems and weapons arrays rather than trying to destroy ships outright. The orbital defense platforms, which had appeared to be stationary targets, suddenly revealed their true nature. They were mobile, repositioning themselves using chemical thrusters that the assembly sensors had failed to detect. They concentrated fire on single targets, overwhelming shields through coordinated attacks. The battle raged for 11 hours. It was chaos unlike anything the assembly had experienced. Their precise formations meant nothing when the enemy refused to fight in formation. Their superior firepower was wasted on targets that would not stay still. Their 11,000 years of experience had prepared them for conventional warfare, not this. When the shooting finally stopped, Zephyr-A stared at her tactical display in horror. 412 assembly ships destroyed, 297 heavily damaged, the rest scattered throughout the solar system, their formations broken, their crews in shock. Humanity had lost 43 ships and 78 orbital platforms. The trade was impossibly favorable. Retreat, Zephyr-A whispered. Then louder, all ships, fall back to Rally Point Sigma. Retreat. The aftermath. Rachel Torres stood on the observation deck of the Defense Station Unity, looking at the debris field that had been a battle. 43 human ships lost meant 3,900 personnel dead. Each one had a name, a family, a story. The victory felt hollow. We won, Admiral Webb said quietly beside her. Against odds that should have been impossible, we won. We survived the first battle, Rachel corrected. They will come again with more ships, better tactics. They will learn from this. So will we, Webb replied, and so will every other species that hears about what happened here. He was right. Within days, the news spread across the galaxy. The Sovereign Assembly, undefeated for 11,000 years, had been beaten by a species that had not even mastered faster-than-light travel. The implications were staggering. On Axis Prime, Supreme Sovereign Orathon received Zephyr-A's report in silence. When she finished, he sat motionless for a long moment. They beat us with inferior technology, he finally said. How? They fought differently, Zephyr-A replied, her energy form flickering with shame. They refused to engage on our terms. Every tactic we used, they had accounted for, every advantage we possessed, they turned against us. Creativity, Orathon said softly. We have spent so long forcing others conform to our ways that we forgot how to adapt. We became rigid. We became predictable. He looked at the assembled council. The humans have taught us a dangerous lesson. They have shown the galaxy that we can bleed. Within weeks, the first rebellions began. Species that served the assembly for thousands of years suddenly found courage. They did not attack directly, but they delayed tribute payments. They questioned orders. They whispered about freedom. Rachel received the first contact from an alien species 3 weeks after the battle. It was Sovereign Talvor, but his message was not hostile. Commander Torres, his translated voice said, I am contacting you without assembly authorization. What you have done is remarkable, but it is also dangerous. The assembly will not accept this defeat. They will return with everything they have. We know, Rachel replied. We are preparing. You misunderstand. Talvor said, I am not warning you. I am asking if you would accept allies. My species has served the assembly for 8,000 years. We have paid tribute, followed orders, and watched our freedom slowly die. You have shown us that resistance is possible. There are others who feel the same. If you would lead us, we would stand with you. Rachel felt her heart race. How many others? 47 species have contacted me secretly. Perhaps more will follow. Together, we could challenge the Assembly's rule. We could build something new, something based on cooperation rather than domination. Rachel looked at Senator Chun and Admiral Webb. They nodded. We would be honored to stand with you, Rachel said. But we fight for freedom, not to replace one empire with another. Every species that joins us does so as equals. That is exactly what we hoped you would say. Talvor replied. We will call it the Alliance of Free Worlds. Over the following months, the alliance grew. Species contributed ships, technology, resources. Humans share their adaptive warfare tactics. The combined fleet grew to rival the Assembly's strength. When the Assembly finally sent their second enforcement collective, they found not a single defiant planet, but a coalition of 50 species united in purpose. The battle that followed lasted 3 days and ended in a negotiated peace. The protocol was abolished. Species were granted self-determination. The galaxy's power structure, unchanged for 11,000 years, was transformed. Rachel Torres stood before the first assembly of free worlds, now including 300 species, each represented equally. She thought about how it all started with a simple refusal, a single word. No, we did not seek this conflict, she told the gathered representatives. We simply chose freedom over security, uncertainty over subjugation. We chose to face an overwhelming enemy rather than live as subjects. And in making that choice, we discovered something the Sovereign Assembly had forgotten, that beings united by free were stronger than any empire built on fear. The chamber erupted in sound from 100 different species, all expressing the same emotion, hope. The Assembly still existed, but now as one voice among many rather than the only voice that mattered. Orathon, humbled by defeat, had stepped down. The new Assembly leadership recognized that adaptation was necessary for survival. Years later, historians would mark humanity's refusal as the moment the galaxy changed. Not because humans were stronger or smarter, but because they remembered something every free being knows instinctively. Some things are worth fighting for, even against impossible odds. Rachel retired from active service 5 years after the battle, but her words from that first confrontation with Talvor became the founding principle of the Alliance. Freedom is not given, it is chosen, and once chosen, it is worth any price. The galaxy learned that lesson well, and it never forgot the species that taught it to them. That's the end of this incredible journey. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button right now. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss another epic HFY story. Share this with every sci-fi fan you know. Let's show the world what humanity is capable of. Drop a comment below telling us your favorite moment from this story. What would you do if aliens tried to control Earth? Thanks for watching, and remember, never stop fighting for what matters.